All right. This video is brought to you by my supporters on Patreon and my members on YouTube. I'm out for my morning walk around the block. This is headquarters. This is where I've worked for the last about 5 years. Yesterday I was at the other building where I started working when I first came back to America, and then I was there for about 1.5 or 2 years, and then I came to work here. I was on the 3rd floor, and then the 4th floor, and then on the 5th floor, and that didn't indicate promotion. That just indicated shifting things around. I currently have a desk still on the 5th floor, although I work from home. I do have a desk here. I love my little desk. I love coming in. I prefer to work at the office. I'm not a work at home kind of guy, but I often do work at home, especially when I was having my sleep problems. Anyway, I'm off to a roaring start here. This is my good life meditation, an exercise that I do every day to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I just gave my last copy to my friend Scott up there. He came around the corner and he said, I heard somewhere that you wrote a book. I said, yeah, I got my last copy right here. It's the beach copy, the one I take to the beach. And I wrote to Scott, and I gave it to him, and a bunch of sand fell out because it's the one I take to the beach to do the reading. So I have no copy of Going Alone, and I probably won't have one for several weeks because I'll have to order more. So no beach reading for a while. Anyway, I do this video, like I said, to do the aforementioned. I also think about the last 24 hours. I reflect on the day, the coming day, which is well underway. I have to round this out. I have a meeting coming up, so I have to keep a pace going. And then I prepare myself for death. It's such a sober thing to do. So first, last night and yesterday. Slept good last night. I woke up feeling like a little bit like I might have had a cold or something, but it seems to have passed. I don't think I'm sick. So I didn't think I was sick then. Sometimes I just get that from like stuff in the air. I'm well underway. I've already had one really good meeting complete. I'm finishing a workflow process that I'm working on. I'm talking right about work already, aren't I? Got a big 2-hour meeting, 3-hour meeting, actually, with we're going to do lunch too, coming up in just a minute. And then I'll be heading to that other office I was at yesterday for some meetings in person, analyst work that I'll be doing with the team there. So life's just plugging along. Nothing particularly ambushed me yesterday, although something was going on. I don't remember what it was, though. What was it? Well, it was my wife. Now, Yumiko, I'm going to just mention, she kind of broke a little bit yesterday. My wife's Japanese, and she's very Japanese. I mean, old school, Showa period. She's a Showa woman for sure. and all that entails. And so, for example, me being, a consummate American, I guess, or maybe just me, as soon as I decided I was going to retire, I started telling everybody, I'm leaving. That was like more than a year out. I'm leaving, I'm retired. My wife doesn't tell anybody except her boss. And she waited a long time to even tell her boss. So she's not really, because that's the thing, right? I mean, it's Japanese, you don't go on and on about yourself, and you don't muddy the water, you don't, upset the waters and make things difficult for people. Although it reaches a point almost where she has to start telling people so that they can properly prepare. But that's all in the hands of her boss, right? Okay. Yesterday, now my wife, one of the things, she's a senior administrator for a restaurant chain here in the United States. It's a Japanese restaurant chain. It's called Gyukaku. She works out of their headquarters here in Torrance. Although normally, like me, she works from home. She does have a desk there. She goes in from time to time because she's a notary. That's not her job, but she happens to have that training and that certification. She's the only notary the company has. So whenever they require notarized documents, she'll go and work at the office that day and do that. And she'll do that tomorrow. And she told me during our dog walk last night, Kurt, I think, and forgive me for talking fast, I'm going to try to get all through this before I get back to the office for my meeting. She said, Kurt, this will probably be the last time that I ever do my notary work because I'll be gone. It doesn't happen very often. It usually only happens when there's big changes with the corporate elements. And so she said she'll probably be gone before she does it. And I asked her, because I knew she's the only notary at the company in the headquarters. I said, well, who's going to do this after you? And of course, they could always just outsource it, right? And she paused for a second, was quiet, and suddenly she said, And this is very uncharacteristic of Yumiko. This is where she broke. She said, that's not really my problem to solve. Which for Yumiko is very out of character, which reveals to me that she's finally starting to break in the best way possible, which is to be a little more expressive and open about the consequence of what's coming. And I've even caught her counting down the days on her own and enumerating those. We do it in funny ways together. We count down the absolute number of days until we leave. We count down the work days until the last day of work. And then we have this funny thing we do. We count down the number of Mondays left. And I think she's down to, I think it's 8 Mondays. I think that's it. 2 months worth of Mondays left. It's fun to count it that way. Okay, that was it. Let's do the good life. 8 objectives, 35 principles. The 8 objectives are as follows: to be always ready to die, to make good and effective use of time, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to perform good actions, to recognize true limits and true opportunities, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, and to keep my balance. If we go around the corner, I'll show you a house I almost thought about buying. The 35 principles in rapid succession are: war, reason, homunculus, anchor hold, home of good and evil, purpose, atomic principle, nature, pirate ride, maturity, social principle, family, public speaking, temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be born, the feast of offal, distraction, agency and the great indifference, the best seat in the house, the restless man, the path of wildness, the great life adventure, the season of philosophy. The great life adventure. The season of philosophy. Script writing, the bullseye aim, the uphill climb, arena and utility, nothing is enough, and the principle of fun. And that takes us right to the house that I want to show you. Isn't this a doozy right there? This house came on the market about 4 years ago, before COVID, and I was still working at this office, but you can see the building is right over there. And I used to come walk through here, and this suddenly had a for sale sign on it. It was only like $250,000. I guess it had some structural issues, but it's very nice. It's got a very nice, and it's got a little plaque here, like a history house. It's called the Shales House from 1887. This late Victorian home was built by G. Olivio Newman with his 20-acre subdivision prospect. And they used this, the 20 acres became this whole housing community. Got a nice garage back there. $250,000, which is pittance here in Southern California. And I could have literally walked home for lunch because work is right around the corner. I thought about it, and even back then, we hadn't decided to go back to Japan, but I was like, Kurt, because wherever we buy a house, I would imagine that's going to be the end of the line. I don't think our story's going to end here. And I let that one go. Although every time I walk past it, I imagine the course of life that could have been. It's a nice neighborhood. The downtown is right there, downtown Riverside. The City College of Riverside is right there, Riverside City College. Okay, anyway, as for today, I'm a quarter of the way through the day. It's past 9 o'clock. I'm just getting ready to go to my 10 o'clock meeting, like I said, as soon as my walk is done. I am going to, it's great to be at the office, seeing everybody. My one friend came by, Bob. Hi, Bob, if you see this. And we were talking, and we were talking about what it's like being our age. We're about the same age. Bob and I started work together. Remember that yesterday's building yesterday? We started working together the same, like within a month or two of each other, the same job. We were both BSAs at that time. Bob's path took him on a different route. But anyway, he and I are about the same age, family men, our kids are growing. And we were talking about what it's like to have the blinds lifted in a way. The self-imposed blinds. Here's the college right over there. The self-imposed blinds in our career life of not looking around and exploring options. I never, in all those decades of work, I never really said to myself, is there anything I could do besides work? Because I always knew work had to be it, so I never entertained that. And Bob commented to me that as you get close to the end, you can kind of poke your head up and, in a realistic manner, ask yourself, what could life be like beyond work? Which is a scary prospect. I think a lot of people then pop their head back down. Aren't these cool rocks? This is a stone house, a historic house here, and it's got this super cool wall with these hand-laid rocks here. But I think a lot of us, when we poke our head above and then wonder at the prospect of what could be, a lot of us might, put our head right back down again, because that could be look at that, isn't that a nice place? That could be a pretty scary prospect. I can see myself doing this again in Japan, doing these good life meditations as a Lyle's Brother style video in Japan, but instead of showing an old historic house here, isn't that a cool Shinto shrine or a little waterfall or whatever? Yeah, I think that's where this is headed. But I think Bob is right. We've reached the point now that we can honestly poke our heads above, assess the landscape ahead, and ask ourselves how we want to make good use of that time. And I think for Bob and I, it's not going to, and I'm not saying Bob is getting ready to retire, but I know he's at that point where he can start thinking about it if he wants. I think for both he and I, the landscape ahead will be welcomed. I know I certainly am. And I'm becoming less and less apprehensive. I was apprehensive a little bit at first, thinking, no, I'm not going to know what to do with myself. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. Nor Yumiko. I think we're going to be fine. The only thing that I think that can get us now is our health. So, got to stay healthy, keep going to the ocean after work, jumping in, eating well, managing that stress, and reinforcing my connection and my commitment, which the commitment was never a question, but the connection was a challenge with my wife when we were raising Emily, because we had our separate roles. Homemaker raising the child in her lap and breadwinner in my lap. And that did separate us in some ways, but I think in a very useful and expected manner. Now that part's done, and we can be together as we used to be, and we are finding that to be possible. Sorry about all the noise. The church there's getting a haircut. Okay, well there's the work. We've come full circle. Takes me about 10-15 minutes, depending on how many blocks I go to go. I've got a 20-minute break. So usually by the time I get back up, grab another refill for my cup of coffee or water, and I'll be ready for my next meeting. Oh, last bit. Am I ready to die? 3 questions. Are my relationships sound? No. Are my affairs in order? Yes. Are my relationships sound? Yes. Is my life's work complete? Yes. Even more so because I just freely gave over my very last copy of Going Alone to Scott. I have no more. It feels good. It feels good not to have a copy in my hand. This is a newspaper here, by the way. It really does feel like it's complete. And as we approach the looming building, the network, the headquarters of internet technology here for Riverside County, for the public sector, I'll sign off. And I'll wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.